In this video, we are going to take a look at every single character's worst matchup in Tekken 8. But before we get started, a few disclaimers. Number 1. Not every character on this roster has a bad matchup, and I'll talk about those characters in this video as well. Number 2, just because I say this character has a difficult matchup does not mean that character can't win that particular matchup. Tekken 8 is not a matchup heavily dependent game. You can win any difficult matchup for your character if you've had the correct prep time. And lastly, this is solely my opinion. Don't take all of this to heart. You are free to disagree with what I say. With that out of the way, let's jump right in. Okay, so number 1, let's talk about my boy Steve Foxuru. Now to me, Yoshi stands out as Steve's worst matchup. So Steve in general suffers against characters that have really good low crush and really strong parries, basically good counters to his 1-to-1 pressure and his back one as well. So Yoshi has a full crouch down forward 4 sweep which goes under highs and is a counter hit launcher, so you find yourself getting hella launched against Yoshi if you're spamming a lot of back 1 or 1-to-1. Yoshi also has down back 3-3, which is another high crush slow. But what really makes this matchup so difficult for Steve is the fact that Yoshi actually makes Steve's duck cancels unsafe due to flash. So moves like down to 1 into duck cancel, down forward 2 into duck cancel, 1-2-1-2 into duck cancel are all unsafe because Yoshi can flash punish all those strings into cancels. Furthermore, Yoshi can also punish Steve's Lionheart transitions, beating every option, guys, every single option in situations where Lionheart 1 is not a frame trap. So these counters are what make Yoshi very difficult for Steve. You have to play very unreserved, as you always do with Steve, but Yoshi just adds another annoying layer to deal with, which makes this matchup very difficult. So Yoshi stands out as Steve's worst matchup in Tekken 8. Some honorable mentions include Xiaoyu because of AOP. Steve finds it very difficult to deal with AOP, as well as Feng having strong parries and down back 3, which goes under back 1 and his jabs. Kazuya and all the Mishimas in general thrive at space control with the use of the EWGF, but as soon as they fight a character that can challenge them at the same range for the same space, they start having some problems. Enter my boy Steve Fox. So Steve is great at challenging Mishimas for the space control, and spoiler alert, Steve is a difficult matchup for all the Mishimas in the game. So the thing about Steve is he can challenge the EWGF with back 1 and 1-to-1, especially with Mishimas that don't have very good high crush, just like Kaz, as I'll talk about later. Now this isn't as bad as it seems because EWGF does have some form of high crush, so it turns into this kind of like rock paper scissors situation against Steve, where in some situations the EWGF will go under the jabs, but in some situations Steve will win. So you do have that risk of, okay, sometimes it hits, sometimes they get counter hit. It's not as bad, but it's just very annoying because you can't really spam electrics as you would in a lot of different matches. Now this applies to all the Mishimas against Steve, but against Kazuya in particular, he suffers more so at close range as well against Steve because he does not have any good panic buttons, any good counter hit tools at close range. So Steve can just bombard him with pressure. Like Kazuya actually suffers against Steve. Historically known to be a bad matchup for Kazuya and still is even after the changes to Steve in Tekken 8. He does have down back 3 for high crush as well as back down 1+2, which is strong in Tekken 8. Actually big counter launcher as well, but it's still quite linear, does not come close to Jin down 2 or Yoshi full crouch down forward 4, which absolutely destroys Steve. And for this fact alone, Kaz struggles heavily against my boy Steve. Some honorable mentions also include Xiaoyu. Kaz struggles dealing with Xiaoyu's AOP as well as Lee. He can't deal with Lee back 4 for defense as well as his variety of counter hit tools. Leroy is a very strong character at point blank range. As a Leroy main, you want to be as close to your opponent as possible because that's why he gets most of his mileage. However, characters that can outspace Leroy without the need of going close to him for most of the match give this character a lot of problems. Leroy's long range moves are just not that great, they're very linear or very risky. So moves like forward forward 3 being a high and being very linear, forward forward 4 being very linear, forward forward to 2 being launch punishable on block. He doesn't really have good long range tools. So characters like Jin that have very good long range pokes that give him a lot of reward, like forward 4 for example, give Leroy so many problems. So EWGF as well, long range, forward 2 long range, forward 4 back to 1, like that space control at that particular range just completely destroys Leroy. It's not even funny. So Jin, for that matter, is a tough matchup for Leroy. However, if you do get close to Jin, it's not as bad. That's the thing with Leroy. He doesn't really have a bad matchup at close range, but at max range is where this character struggles. Characters like Devil Jin is also another honorable mention. Up forward 1, the chain, zoning, electric, forward 4, forward 2, Morning Crow max range, so he suffers with that character as well. Even Fahkumram with 3+4, you know, standing 3. Fahkumram just has insane range against Leroy, but if you do get close to him, you will actually do well because Fahkumram doesn't really have good close range get off me moves. But if outspaced, you will find yourself having problems when playing Leroy. Raven has a down forward one that actually tracks both sides. Like this down forward one is insane. It makes him very difficult to deal with in terms of tracking at close range. However, Lili is the only character in the game that can consistently step Raven's down forward one both sides. This nullifies a lot of Raven stuff. Like you have to start using stuff like forward 3, which is very clunky to use, or standing 3+4, which is unsafe at -12. Those are like Raven's other two decent good home moves. So like it makes Raven players play in a very unorthodox way. Like this matchup is very annoying for Raven. It's very difficult by a long shot. And that's why Lili actually tops the list as Raven's worst matchup in Tekken 8. Other characters like Zafina and Alisa as well do give Raven some problems, but his down forward one can still track them both sides, more so than Lili anyway. He also struggles against characters that deal a lot of pressure, like Dragunov for example, because Raven has decent defensive moves but they are risky, so characters that force him to start using those defensive risky moves give him so much trouble. So Dragunov is another of those characters. Reina. So Reina is a Mishima, and I did mention in the Kazuya section that Steve is generally a bad matchup for all the Mishimas across the board. So if you've come to this section through the use of timestamps, I suggest you watch my Kazuya section if you want to hear what I have to say about Steve against Mishimas. Nevertheless, because I've talked about Steve already, I'll talk about generally bad matchup for Reina as well, which is Xiaoyu. And this is because of the reasons we all know and fucking hate. AOP. Oh my days, AOP man. You have to have good tools to deal with Xiaoyu's AOP at point blank range, at max range, and sidestep AOP. And Reina actually struggles with this a lot. She has fought for 2, but AOP completely beats that. If Xiaoyu does AOP down, forward 2 will lose. Down forward 1 is decent at close range, it has a low hitbox, but sidestep AOP or AOP down does beat down forward 1 in some cases. You might think down 2 has a low hitting hitbox. Nope, AOP completely beats that as well. Forward 4, nothing. So Reina does struggle with Xiaoyu's evasiveness because of this. You can't just EWGF, spam like you can do against so many different matchups, because again she just goes under everything. So what you use mostly with Reina is lows or like forward 3, but that's still not as great because Xiaoyu can just be in your face rolling all over the place and you can't just do anything about it. It's very difficult. It's a very difficult matchup for Reina. Another honorable mention, just like Kazuya, is Lee. You know, back 4 can stuff electrics, forward 4 does go under highs as well, so you can't spam EWGF against Lee as well. Hwoarang. Now the thing about Hwoarang is, yes, he's had a lot of his weaknesses patched out, but what still remains is the fact that Hwoarang will always be vulnerable whilst dishing out damage, right? He has to be in left flamingo, right flamingo, so he's always vulnerable because he can't block during those stances. And one of the characters that takes advantage of this exploit is Leroy. Leroy actually wants you to press buttons. Leroy actually wants to be in your face as well. He has one of the best 10 frame counter hit confirmable strings in the game, which is very good at interrupting Hwoarang's pressure. Not just that, he has the fastest mid counter hit launcher in the game in back 1+2. He has back 1, 13 frames counter hit knockdown as well. He has a decent power crush that activates really fast, which is ideal for Hwoarang. And on top of all this, he has one of, if not the best parries in the game, with one of them actually being a launcher in hit. So Leroy wants you to press buttons against him, he wants to be in your opponent's face, and Hwoarang just gives him that. Hwoarang does not have good high crush whilst in Flamingo. He only has down back 3 and down 3+4 outside of Flamingo. So when he is in Flamingo, I think Leroy takes huge advantage of that. It was a bad matchup back in Tekken 7, still is in Tekken 8 as well. Some honorable mentions include Steve as well, with the back 1 and the jabs. Hwoarang of course not having good high crash, not as bad as it was back in Tekken 7 because of the addition of down 3+4, but overall these are the two most difficult matchups for Hwoarang in my opinion. Okay, Kuma has a lot of difficult matchups, right? This man's is huge AF, he can't backdash for shit, he can't step for shit. His only modes of defense are back 1+2, which is a -13 mid power crash, and 1-1-1, which is a counter hit confirmable string. But if you miss this, both hits are launch punishable, second hit and third hit. Kuma's defense is horrible. Like, outside of his natural defense with the short legs, this man's just eats pressure for days. Literally any character that has massive plus frames is horrible for Kuma and Panda, by the way. This applies to Panda as well. Basically any character, close range pressure, right? Dragunov, Hwoarang, Anna, Nina, Claudio, Lee, Alisa, every single character has very strong pressure is horrible for Kuma. I guess Drag, for example, right? Dragunov has literally no reason to not spam running 2 against his character because he can't step for shit. You don't even have to worry about getting stepped, so running 2 all day. Yeah, Kuma suffers a lot. Honestly, I still wonder how Rangchu has been able to pull off these massive bear wins at the highest level because, man, it must be hard as hell playing with the bears, especially when it comes to defense. Now, although Devojin has changed quite a bit in Tekken 8, his worst matchup from his previous games still remains Lili. Like, this character just walks circles around Devojin, like it's not even funny. So all of Devojin's biggest homie moves are all highs, right? Standing 4, awesome homie move but it's a high, up forward 2, another great homie move but it's a high. He also uses back forward 2, which has some decent tracking, but yeah, we all know Lili has the best side step in the game, and most of these moves that are not homie moves but track or have good tracking, like Raven's down forward 1, don't apply against Lili. Like, this character's hitbox is just weird. Sidestep Matterhorn, sidestep hop kick, nothing works against Lili for Devojin, so it's very difficult to lock her down, even at the range that Devojin loves, right? Forward 4, that range 3, range 2.5 with forward 4, forward 2, EWGF, up forward 1. All those moves are horrible to use against Lili because a simple step beats all of that, bro. A simple step. So yeah, this still remains as Devojin's worst matchup by far in Tekken 8. Honorable mentions of course apply to characters that have good stepping as well. So characters like Alisa, really good stepping, Zafina, as well as Dragunov. So all these characters are pretty good against Devojin. Steve as well, but Steve, it's a bit doable in Tekken 8 because again, Devojin is strong at range 3 and Steve has like that zoning back 1-1-1, so Devojin can challenge it with up forward 1 and forward 4 this time around, so not as bad as it was in previous Tekken games. King. Now, we all know how King has the worst backdash in the game and how he makes up for this by having the muscle armor power crash and his back jaguar step. So you don't really feel the effects of his backdash all that much until you face Hwoarang. Dude, Hwoarang is so bad for King. Such a tough matchup because when this character is in, King does not have good options for Hwoarang to just stop the bullshit, bro. Like, it's just so difficult. You might think muscle armor is good against Hwoarang, but actually it's not, because Hwoarang can easily stuff the punish from King's muscle armor. You get stuffed a lot, you can easily go low, and you all know you can't power crush a low. So the only thing King has is down forward 2, and you won't have enough time to use down forward 2 when Hwoarang is stringing in your face. You need a quick 10 frame counter hit 2 to get Hwoarang off your ass. So having that bad movement, that bad backdash really kills King against Hwoarang in such a very difficult matchup. You also can't use the back Jaguar step in the middle of Hwoarang stringing. Like, everything has to be so calculated. It's just very, very bad for King. A very uncomfortable matchup. Honorable mention includes Raven as well. Muscle armor is good. Raven does use that pinya dash a lot, so you can easily go low every single time King goes for muscle armor. So it's kind of difficult for King to like sustain that long range pressure or that defensive pressure against Raven as well. Sergey Dragunov. Now, Dragunov does not necessarily have horrible matchups, but he just has some really annoying matchups, and one of these, probably the worst, is Kazuya. The thing about Kazuya is down 2 is minus 13 on block, and Kazuya has a 13 frame while standing launcher. So when fighting Kaz using drag, all of your lows become launch punishable. It's not horrible, don't get me wrong, but like just having all your lows be launch on block is kind of sucks ass. You also just can't spam running too easily against Kazuya or Mishimas in general because they do have that EWGF. Now, like I said, it's not a horrible matchup because Kazuya does not have very good defensive tools. So once Dragunov is in his face, he can't really do much. But to get in is where the problem is, and that's why I think this matchup is really bad for Dragunov and probably the worst in the game. Honorable mentions include Steve and Feng because they do have back combos which are good for running 2 and down 2, as well as a Heihachi, especially Steve's up back 3, really annoying to deal with as drag. So we all know Lili has the best sidestep in the game by far. This is her biggest strength and this is where she gets most of her reward. So she suffers a lot against characters that have really good lockdown. Basically, really strong homie moves that give a lot of reward. And ironically, Asuka happens to be one of those characters. So Asuka has forward 4, which is a +3 on block, homing high at launches on normal hit. Then at max range, she has running 1+2, which when she has Ninawa Gusto buff becomes a normal launcher on hit as well. So like these two moves are really effective at just stopping Lili from stepping. She also has forward 4-3 by the way. Now whilst forward 4 is a very strong homie move, it is a high. So side step duck is very effective against Asuka at close range. The problem is Asuka has a lot of very strong moves at close range like 1+2 which launches on normal hit as well. So ducking against his character at close range is not advised. Even like side step duck, good Asuka has a very good timing. So yeah, this lockdown is what gives Lili a lot of problems in this game. Another character or honorable mention is Claudio. Claudio means just back 1 all day and Lili struggles against that a lot. But overall, she's very strong against a lot of characters because her sidestep is just insane. But again, characters that lock her down properly make her struggle a bit more in those particular matchups. Jack 8. So Jack 8 is a big body, kind of like the Bears, and he suffers from not having great defense. He does have a good backdash, yes, kind of deceptive, but in Tekken 8, that's still not enough. So Jack is kind of like King in a sense that he relies a lot on his muscle armor for defense. But kind of different from King because King is just a power crush that has like a built-in attack, right? Absorbs hits, boom, punishes you with his down back 1+2/2 as a hit engager. But Jack, like it's a whole mechanic revolved around this stance. He gets basically an install from absorbing hits. Now the thing about this stance is it's a power crush, and as a power crush it loses to grabs, and ironically King is the most effective character at grabbing in Tekken 8. So King punishes Jack hard for using this power crush, right? So that really messes up Jack's whole playstyle around his Gamma Host stance. You have to play a bit differently, and you do want to be defensive against Kin, because Kin can just spam forward neutral 2 and forward 1, and as a Jack player you can't do anything but just get. It's a very annoying matchup for Jack. So yeah, mostly because of the Gamma House stance and King's grabs is why this matchup isn't really as easy for Jack. But Jack also suffers from a lot of pressure. Characters that have insane pressure like Anna, Nina, Hwoarang, Jack suffers from them as well, with his go-to panic move being forward 2, strong at 10 frames fast, but it's still unsafe. So yeah, these are some of the toughest matchups that Jack has to go through. One of Bryan's toughest matchups has to be Xiaoyu. Now, it's not horrible. The only problem is, as we know, AOP. The fact that Bryan can't use QCB1 as much as he would want to against Xiaoyu, especially at that close range, just makes it very difficult for Bryan to control the space. So quarters go back 1, 1+2, forward 4, even incinerate in some scenarios, forward 2, 1, 2. AOP beats all these options. So Bryan has to really change his playstyle against Xiaoyu, right? I mean, a lot of characters have to, but for a character like Bryan, whose offense revolves a lot around his counter hit tools, right? Forward 3, 3+4, QCB1, this really hits him hard. Having to change your playstyle and use unorthodox mids like down back 1, it just feels as though you're not really using everything, you're not really tapping into his strengths, right? The only reason we don't see this a lot is because Xiaoyu is a very rare character, higher ranks even in tournaments, so you don't really see this matchup all that much. But all in all, it's a very difficult matchup for Bryan. However, moves like down forward 1 at close range do hit her out of AOP, but for the most part at that mid range, Bryan suffers quite a bit. Honorable mentions include characters with a lot of close range pressure, because Bryan only has 1-1 and 1-4 for keep out. So characters like Anna give him a lot of problems, Steve at close range, even Lee, because he can challenge with like back 4 as well, give Bryan some trouble. Not as bad as Xiaoyu, but there can be some challenging matchups as well. Azucena struggles against Steve, and it's very simple. This character does not have enough high crush options, so jab pressure from Steve and the back 1 is very effective against her, because she also has a lot of pressure tools that involve cancelling. So stuff like forward 4 into 3 cancel, down forward 1-4 cancel. Steve has very good interruptions with jabs in his back 1. However, it does give Steve problems if she goes into stance. Honestly, no character should be mashing against Azucena in stance either way, so yeah, that doesn't really affect Steve players all that much. And her go-to high crush is a low that's like what -3 on block, right? She doesn't really have anything else outside of that. She has to go into full crouch to access her other lows that go under jab. So Steve can be in Azucena's face without that much risk of getting counter hit. Any YOLO high crash moves like Claudio down back 1+2, Steve does not have to worry about that. And Azucena struggles. She struggles against Steve or characters with insane pressure. Honorable mentions include Anna as well, being that insane pressure character. Nina in her face is a problem as well, and Hwoarang too. So I was about to put Asuka in the group of characters with no bad matchups in this game, because honestly, this character probably has the best defensive tools in Tekken 8. Like, she's actually insane. But then I looked at Bryan. The thing about Bryan is he controls the mid-range space with that QCB1, bro. Like, oh my days, just so freaking strong, and Asuka cannot challenge that space. Yes, she has running 1+2, she has forward 1+2, forward 3, but all those have so much wind up. They're just way too slow compared to Bryan's QCB1. So that range control, that space control, Asuka just suffers a lot against Bryan. It's kind of like an electric, except electric honestly doesn't have as much range as QCB1, right? At default, like without a dash. So that range control, right, is what I think Asuka struggles with against Bryan. But overall, Asuka does not pretty much have a bad matchup, guys. Her defense is out of this fucking world. I just had to squeeze in Bryan to get something out of the Asuka mains to make him feel special. But let's be honest, this character is insane. She's so freaking defensive, right? So yes, the mid-range pressure, the fact that she loses that mid-range control with running 1+2, 4-1+2 to Bryan's QCB1 is why I would say she might struggle a bit more against Bryan. Alisa is kind of like Lili in the sense that her movement is her biggest strength, but let's be honest, chainsaw stance is Alisa's biggest strength by a fucking margin. Oh my days, this character and that goddamn stance, sheesh. But the thing about Alisa is once you lock down her movement, she struggles defensively and she has to enforce that chainsaw stance pressure on you. So Claudio is the best character in the game at locking down characters with very strong side steps alongside Asuka at least. Back one is just way too good, way too good. And Alisa also likes turtling. She's a very heavy turtle outside of chainsaw stance, and Claudio can just easily break turtles now in Tekken 8, right? Running 2, running 4 mix up at max range, you're stepping, dash up back 1, down back, side step 4, plus side step yeehaw mix up, and you're cooked, right? So Claudio just shuts down Alisa and forces her to enforce that chainsaw gameplay, which honestly isn't a problem for Alisa, but when you have those chainsaws out, yeah, Claudio does give Alisa a lot of problems. Speaking of Claudio, this is the first character on my list so far that has no bad matchup in my opinion. This character is just built to deal with every single fucking character on the roster, bro. Stepping characters back one, which I believe is the best homing move in the game, or at least the most effective. It's just too good. Then you have side step 4 in that side step Superman, side step 4 in that side step down back 1+2 mix up, which works on every single character. Very strong jab game condition, back 3, back 3, side step 4, side step down back 1+2. When he has Starburst, you are not ducking for your life, and he can just condition your ass and force you to guess almost the entire game. You can't just jab against him because of yeehaw. Like, he's just insane. Literally no one gives Claudio problems. He is just built to deal with everything in the game, and that's why I think he has no bad matchup in Tekken 8. Feng is another character on my list that I believe has no bad matchup in this game. So the thing about Feng is he struggles when the character he's fighting just hits way harder than him or is just better at poking than him, right? The thing about Feng is he's fallen a bit behind in terms of damage. The best of the best get like 100 easily now, but Feng has to work a bit harder. I think it's gone back to somewhere Tekken 7 Season 2 Feng in terms of damage numbers. Still insane, but he's just fallen behind, and he also has to win a lot of poking battles. Feng can poke you, but he can't stay in your face without putting himself at risk. Nina can poke you like infinitely and not take that many risks. That's the difference. So Feng has no bad matchup. He just struggles when the characters he's fighting have just way better mileage than him, but he can still win every matchup. He can still win. It's about the pilot, not the plane, right? So Feng, in my opinion, still an insane character, has no bad matchup. Kazama Jin. Yep, another character with no bad matchup in my opinion. This character can deal with every single situation right now in the game. One of Jin's difficult matchups back in Tekken 7 was Steve, because he did not have good high crush outside of just downfall. Downfall is the best thing he had against Steve in terms of high crush, but now they gave him his goddamn down too, and that is a problem for Steve. So Jin can deal with that matchup. Now he can deal with Xiaoyu with back to 1. Bryan, he can contest Bryan with EWGF forward 4. He's just good. He can deal with every single freaking situation, every single fucking character in the game. That's why he's him, right? That's why he's the main protagonist of the game. Jin is in a very good place right now. So yeah, Jin, no bad matchup in my opinion. Nina slightly struggles against Steve. Now it's not bad, it's not bad at all, right? She has decently good high crush. She has down 2, she has QCF3, side step 4, and the hell sweep, or the full crouch sweep. But the thing is, Steve kind of prevents her from going in too much with down forward 1 pressure, and this is like the meat and potatoes of Nina's fucking pressure in this game. So if Nina is not allowed to use as much back one pressure as possible, then she kind of has to play this unorthodox reserved playstyle, which is not Nina's strength in this game. Nina wants to be in your face with down forward one pressure. Now because Steve has that back one, he has those jabs, Nina can't just go in YOLO with down forward one pressure, and that's why this matchup is slightly difficult for Nina. Now slightly, the slightest, okay? It's not a bad matchup, it is slightly a bit difficult. Leroy is another honorable mention because Leroy also has some pretty strong counter 2s at close range, back 1 plus 2, 1 1 1 plus 2 1, the best 10 frame counter hit confirmable string. So Leroy can stop Nina's back down forward pressure a lot, as well as Lee with his back 4. But overall, Steve and Leroy do give Nina some problems, but again, they're not terrible matchups, just a bit challenging for Nina. Xiaoyu's overall neutral game revolves around AOP, back turn, and back row, right? You can't really play this character without doing all of that. It's kind of embedded in her playstyle, and she mostly relies on AOP to go under stuff, sidestep AOP to lower her hitbox even more, making her even more difficult to hit. So whenever Xiaoyu faces a character that's very good at shutting all that stuff down, especially with one effective move, this character struggles a lot. And the best character in my opinion at doing that is Claudio. Claudio's back one just shuts off everything Xiaoyu does. This beats AOP, it beats AOP down as well, sidestep AOP, like back one just covers everything. He also has back 3. So back 3 Claudio is that knee he has, which is like a down forward one but a knee. So with a very low hitbox, and it hits Xiaoyu everywhere. So like back 1 and back 3 just completely shut Xiaoyu down, and that's all that it is, right? Just because she gets shut down by these moves, it makes it a very challenging matchup for Xiaoyu. Honorable mention includes Victor. Victor is very good with down 2, has a very low hitting hitbox. But other than that, Xiaoyu is still a pretty top tier character, very rarely seen, which is kind of criminal, but yeah, she's still pretty good. My boy Lars. Lars' worst matchup by far in this game is against Yoshi. And this is all because of, yes, you guessed it, the Flash. Lars is insanely strong in stance but very risky in neutral. All of his neutral lows are launch on block, so you want to take advantage of Lars going into stance. Even his hit gets enhanced, or his lows from stance get buffed, right? Or his LE lows, DE3+4 gets buffed as well, so most of his good offense and his safety comes from stance transitions. Well, Yoshi can just flash the shit out of every stance that Lars transitions to, right? Anything into stance, in between the transition, Yoshi can flash. That's it. That's why this matchup is so difficult for Lars. Now you can bait Yoshi to flash, but sometimes the flash is guaranteed, which makes it very difficult. And with that, you find yourself struggling with Yoshi just for that fact alone. Other than that, he doesn't really struggle against Yoshi. He's got good homing moves now. Running 1 is a tracking move, basically. Back 1 got buffed. It's all about that stupid flash, bro. That flash just shuts the fuck out of Lars, bro. Like, it's not even funny. So Lars mains, watch out for that flash. You can't spam that many stance transitions against Yoshi. Just keep that in mind. Paul Phoenix. Honestly, I think Paul struggles against a lot of characters in this game. More specifically, a lot of characters that have really strong keep out and really strong counter hit tools, especially at that mid-range control. Now, Paul himself has good defense and good keep out, right? Down forward 2, QCB 4, back forward 1, forward 1+4. He does have good defense, but going in is where the problem is. Just going in. Because most of his moves have a lot of wind up. Down forward 4, forward 4, forward 1+2, his forward 2 strings, just so much wind up. It's like he has to play very solid neuch in this game, while most characters have like super BS stuff where they throw out something and it does a lot of shit, right? So as Paul, you find yourself running into that Lee back 4, that Steve back 1, that Asuka back 3, the June back 3, Bryan QCB 1. You just find yourself running into those sort of moves. Steve jabbed, keep out. That's what Paul finds difficult to deal with in this game. But at the top of my list, I think Lee is up there. Like, Lee's back 4 just does mad work against Paul, and Lee can easily get in with running 3. Steve as well is kind of a problem for Paul because Paul does not have really good high crash outside of QCB3, so he has to deal with back one and Steve jab pressure to just get his offense going. Lee Chao Lam. Now Lee I don't feel has a terrible matchup in this game or a really bad matchup because it's kind of like Feng. The thing about Lee is he does not have a lot of payoff or a lot of high reward moves in this game. So for example, if we take a look at Lars is DE3+4 in heat, right? That busted us low from dynamic entry that has a lightning follow-up. That's like a super strong low that can easily open up opponents and give him a shitload of damage. Lee does not have anything like that, so it always feels as though you're playing catch up with this character. So that's what makes Lee seem bad in this game, because you always have to stay aggressive, always have to stay in your opponent's face. But Lee on his own is a defensive powerhouse with back 4, very difficult to get in against this character. So I don't really think he has a bad matchup to that degree, but if there's one matchup I would pick, it would be Victor, more so because Victor has that gunshot, so Lee can't spam back 4 all that much for keep out. And when Lee stops using back 4, Victor can now start his running 2 pressure, running 3+4 pressure for free, right? I think back 4 is very important for Lee, and because Victor can nullify that, Lee kind of has to play differently against Victor. But overall, I don't think Lee has like a bad matchup like that, boys. I don't think so. Kazama June. Now June has pretty good defense in terms of keep out and just defensive tools overall. She has good offense as well in terms of poking ability, but where she suffers is the mid-range. June kind of struggles in the sense that when she throws out something in the mid-range, it's to poke, right? To poke, maybe plus frames, and because of that, she can't really command the mid-range in a sense that someone like Asuka can. Asuka has huge just moves like running 1+2, forward 1+2, forward 3 that June just doesn't have. So she struggles against characters that have good mid pressure or like mid control, like space control. So who is one of the strongest characters at the mid range pressure? Of course, it's Bryan. Bryan gives June so many problems at this range with moves like QCB1, 3+4, forward 4, back 1. Like June just can't contest. Like she has to be in your face to actually get something going. But the mid-range game, yeah, she suffers heavily, and Bryan makes it a difficult matchup for June because of this fact. It's not bad, but in terms of just mid-range control, yeah, June suffers heavily. Marshall. So Law is kind of like Leroy in a sense that he is godlike at point blank range. Honestly, one of the strongest characters in the game, period, at range 0, same as Leroy, but at max range he kind of suffers a lot. Law does not have good poking tools at max range. You have to do stuff like running 3, his jet kick from DSS. Nunchak has decent range but not like max range, so whilst he's strong at close range, he is very weak at max range. And just like Leroy, someone that controls space very well at max range can be troublesome for Law to deal with. So characters like Bryan, again, Bryan just commands the mid space heavily. Like it's so fucking scary to poke Bryan at this range because again, QCB1, right, 3+4, back 1, forward 2, forward 4. Like he just has perfect range tools to keep Law at bay. And Bryan also doesn't struggle at close range because he has 1-4 and 1-1, which are 10 frame counter tools. So a very troublesome matchup for Law, but again, it's not like super bad. Law can adapt if he can use the slides properly, but all in all, it's a bit difficult with Law because you always have to be close to the opponent, and characters that have good spacing, good keep out, good mid-range control, Law does struggle a bit. Honorable mention is Jin as well, for the same fact that Jin controls the mid-range pressure pretty well, and Fahkumram to some degree, but the thing about Fahkumram is he's close if you can get, he's weak if you can get close to him, and that's where Law shines. So when Law is in Fahkumram's face, that matchup is ass for fuck. But if the fuck is very good at space control, keeping Law out, Law can have some trouble. Leo kind of struggles against characters that have really good point blank range pressure. Their defensive options are not that good. They have down forward 2, which is their best option in my opinion. They have a janky ass power crash, one of the worst in the game. They also have a budget version of the back kempo, something similar something not as close or as good as Steve or Feng's back Kempo. They have some good parries and forward 2+3, which is a built-in sidestep move, but overall she doesn't really have like good keep out when someone is in their face. So every close range character is very strong against Leo. So characters like Leroy, Hwoarang, Anna, Steve, Law, all very good against Leo. But I would put Hwoarang at the top of that because, man, Hwoarang right now is super S tier, super fucking strong. And you want to have like a good 10 frame hit confirmable, like counter hit 10 frame move to keep Hwoarang off your ass. Something like, you know, Bryan 1-4 or Leroy 1-1-1+2-1. Leo does not have that. So Hwoarang can just go to town against this character. Very risky for Leo to use forward 2+3 because of like backlash and right stance down for 3 for tracking. So yeah, Leo is actually pretty good, but in terms of defensive options at point blank range, they suffer quite a bit, especially against Hwoarang. Shaheen. So Shaheen struggles against characters that have pretty good keep out because Shaheen has to get going, right? He has to implement those full crouch sweeps in your face. He's got a strong running move, you know, sidestep 1+2, sidestep 2, down 1, like all these moves require some sort of conditioning. He's a very conditioning heavy focused character. So if a character he's facing has like strong keep out or can challenge him more than he can against that character, he suffers quite a lot. Biggest culprit is Asuka. Asuka just screams of defense and keep out, and Shaheen just can't stay in Asuka's face, right? Back 3, can, forward 2+3, so it's high step 2, strong power crush, down forward 2, forward 4. Shaheen just can't get going against this character. Like, it's just pretty stupid. Now, I do understand Asuka is top tier, and honestly, she's a bad matchup for a lot of characters in this game, but the fact that Shaheen just can't contest at this range, honestly, is a very problematic issue for Shaheen. If you can get those slides at full range, of course you can be successful at this match, but when you get too predictable, like it's wraps, you throw running to in Asuka's face, then what do you have to do as Shaheen, right? You have to condition her, and she won't let you do that with all her overpowered ass defensive moves. So Asuka stands top as Shaheen's worst matchup in my opinion. Yoshimitsu. So Yoshi struggles against characters that don't give him very good flash opportunities, characters that have very easy ways to get in against him, as well as characters that can track him down, stopping him from abusing the spin. And one of the most effective characters at doing this is Alisa. Alisa fucking boss Konovich. Yoshi can't get any really good like flash opportunities against Alisa when she is in chainsaw stance, because this character can move like crazy in that stance. Like, it's actually insane. Now, of course, flash works at the right timing, the right read, but Alisa won't give Yoshi's that many opportunities to use the flash. Like, even in neutral, Alisa is a very backdash heavy character. She plays turtle, keep out, so she won't be at close in your face every single time, so Yoshi just won't get the chance to abuse flash as many times as he would against characters like Lars and like Leroy, who prefer to be in your face or who have stances. Then Alisa also has very good ways to get in with flight, right? Running 2, running 3+4. So Yoshi just can't stay out and spam his breath for keep out, you know, like even down 3, for example, that beats breath. And of course, Alisa has pretty good tracking moves with back 3 and standing 4. So Yoshi can't just abuse spin. So this is what makes this matchup quite a bit annoying for Yoshi. It's not bad, but it's a bit annoying for Yoshi, and that's why I think it's the worst he has in this game. Honorable mention includes Claudio as well. Back 1 just shuts down everything Yoshi does in terms of movement. He can go in and out with running 2s, running 4. And again, he also doesn't really stay in your face all the time, so he won't give Yoshi that many flash opportunities. Zafina. So Zafina is kind of a weird hybrid of Xiaoyu and Alisa. So Alisa, in terms of movement, very strong backdash, very strong sidestep, and Xiaoyu in terms of evasiveness. Zafina is one of those characters that goes under a lot of shit, just like Xiaoyu due to her stances. So characters that can nullify this aspect of Zafina's strength makes her struggle in terms of just matchup in general. So Nina is pretty good at this, of course, being one of the strongest characters in the game. Her downfall run pressure is just ridiculous, and Zafina does not have good defensive tools either. A very risky power crush, and that's it, right? She relies mostly on movement and evasion to really get her defense going. So characters that just stay in her face and can lock her down, she struggles a lot. Honorable mention is Claudio as well. Claudio gives Zafina a lot of trouble with back 1, and back 3 just locks her down completely. Even Anna, basically. So any close range focused character with very strong homing does give Zafina trouble in this game. Victor is another character that struggles a lot at close range, does not have very good defensive options outside of a very risky power crash and a very risky low in down back 4. He does have a parry, but it's not as good as, one of the best parries in the game out there, so he does struggle against characters that dish out a lot of offense. And who is one of those best characters? Hwoarang. Hwoarang is very bad for Victor, because Victor can't keep Hwoarang at bay. Basically, when Hwoarang goes in, his go-to panic moves are very risky. If the Hwoarang has a good read, bro, it's wraps for Victor. He just has very difficult times dealing with character pressure. So Nina, Anna, Hwoarang, Steve as well. Victor does not have good high crash outside of just down back 4. So that Steve matchup also gives him trouble, pretty much in the same sense. So that's basically it for Victor. Struggles against close range pressure a lot, and Hwoarang for me stands at the top as his most difficult matchup. Okay, so let's talk about Anna. So Anna, yeah, she's another character that I believe does not have any bad matchup in this game. Like, she can deal with a lot of characters. The thing about Anna is her offense is just insanely too good right now. Her cancels, her frames, ability to go into full crouch mix-up, like conditioning is so strong, her stance pressure is so strong. She has a random 50-50 from practically anywhere because she can instantly go into full crouch. So she can just be offensive throughout the game against any characters. Now, Anna can be punished for her aggression against characters that have pretty good defensive tools like Asuka, Steve, and Lee. But the thing is, Anna can easily adapt to deal with all these characters. So for example, Steve is very strong against characters that are very poor high crash because of his skip out in the back 1. But Anna, even throughout all her button machine, has a full crouch sweep which goes under highs. So Steve has to be careful to deal with that. Same thing applies for Lee, right? Spamming his back 4 for keep out. Like, Anna has range, missile full screen, just running low. Like, she can just deal with every particular situation. She is one of the best characters in the game, arguably top 2. And this is why I think she doesn't really have any bad matchup in Tekken 8. Fahkumram. Oh, I'll be honest, I think Fahk has a lot of difficult matchups in this game. He just does not have that many good defensive tools. His biggest strength by far is just his range. That's pretty much it. He's a big ass character, can't step pretty well, has a good backdash, but him not being able to step and just not having any good keep out or defensive moves just makes his character suffer with a lot of oppressive characters in the game. Lee is the biggest culprit to this. Lee also has a 14 frame launcher because Fahkumram's all of Fahkumram's laws are like -14. Only a few, I think one is -13, but he just gets launched by Lee all the fucking time, and he just can't deal with characters that get in easily against him and enforce a lot of close range pressure, and Lee is good at that. Lee has running 3, can easily get in with running 3, and once Lee is in Fahk's face, oh my days, just can't do anything about it. Good keep out with back 4 as well makes it difficult for Fahk to spam moves like back forward 4 or 3+4. You have to be very careful against Lee. Other honorable mentions include Anna, of course, very oppressive at close range, Law, Leroy, Nina as well. Basically, any character with close range pressure, Fahk suffers a lot. Lidia Sobieska. One of Lidia's biggest issues as a character is that she's very linear, especially her lows. She has a bad time against characters that have really good movement. So Zafina, Alisa, Dragunov, like these 3 give Lidia problems. Now of course Lidia is strong when she goes into hit and she enforces her stance, cancels her stance pressure, but like outside of hit and just neutral game, she struggles a shitload against movement heavy character. I also did not mention Lili, who is the best who has the best sidestep in the game, by the way. Lili is horrible for Lidia. Like, she actually struggles. Honestly, the day this character gets some pretty good homing moves in neutral is the day people will start complaining more about Lidia than they do right now. Like, character will be insane if she actually gets good tracking. But as of now, yeah, movement heavy characters, Lidia struggles a whole lot much. I don't really think Eddy has a bad matchup like that per se. Eddy's weakness comes with him, like him alone as the character, and not more so of him having like bad matchups. But in general, Eddy does seem to struggle against characters that enforce a lot of point blank range pressure, because he has to get started, right? He has to start his stance cancels, transitions, his handstand cancels. So if Eddy can't get started, he struggles because he does not have good tools, just like in neutral, right? He has 1+2, the built-in side step move, he has a high power crash, and he has back 3-3, which is risky if not confirmed properly. So characters that can stay in his face, like Nina, Anna, Lo as well, do give Eddy some problems because he just can't get started. But all in all, I just don't think Eddy has like bad matchups like that. But I guess being overwhelmed by offense more so than any other character in the game does count as a bad matchup technically. So yeah, Nina, Anna, point blank ranged focused heavy characters do give Eddy a hard time. The old man. So Heihachi is a Mishima, so he suffers the same problems as Kazuya and Reina in terms of matchup. So Steve and Lee. Basically not having good high crash options and characters that can challenge his EWGF basically are the matchups Mishimas outside of Devojin struggle with in general. So Steve 1-2-1-2 gives Heihachi problems, as well as back 1, because you don't really have that many high crash options. Most of his high crash options are risky, you know, for crouch down forward 3, forward 2 does have high crash, but again it can be punished. So Heihachi has to be overly cautious against Steve in particular, not to get destroyed by that back 1. A lot of his strong moves like back 4 also have a lot of wind up, right? So you just can't throw them off willy-nilly, up forward 3-4. So Heihachi has to worry about a lot of stuff against Steve. Same applies to Lee, you know, back 4 keep out, forward 4 that goes under highs, can beat his electric. So Heihachi has to be really careful. Clive. So Clive struggles mostly against characters that can contest his Phoenix shift. So Clive wants range. He wants that long range to just come in and mix your shit. So characters that command that space as well as close range pressure give Clive a lot of problems. He does not have good defensive tools at close blank range. He always spams 1+2 as a get off me move and a very risky power crush as well. So he struggles in that sense. So Bryan, of course, one of the best characters at that range, just commands that space and can't let Clive just come in YOLO with Phoenix shift, because Bryan just counter hits your ass every single time. Characters like Claudio as well exploits Clive very well, can stay in his face, check him with back 1 almost every single time. And of course, close range pressure heavy focus characters like Lo, Nina, Anna, you know, Steve do give Clive problem. Whenever this character gets space, that's when he becomes a problem. So characters that can close that space, keep him on his toes at close range, will make him struggle heavily. So there you have it, boys. That is my list. Every bad matchup for every single character on the Tekken 8 roster, as well as some honorable mentions. Now again, another disclaimer, Tekken 8 is not a matchup dependent heavy game. As of right now, every single character is freaking insane oppressively. There's just not many ways to defend against every character, and that makes every character viable against anyone. This matchup, quote unquote bad matchup, is something written on paper, but in general it doesn't really matter all that much, especially in Tekken, which is a 3D heavy fighting game. So just keep that in mind, guys. Don't take it too seriously. But of course, if you disagree, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Do tell me what you think, and let's go at it, my boys. Let's talk about the bad matchups in Tekken 8. If you made it this far, please don't forget to like and subscribe, help your boy get to 10k. And if you enjoyed this video, do check out my other video on a tip for every single character on the Tekken 8 roster. GG, boys.